Ladies and, so to speak, gentlemen, someone suggested to my wife that it would be someone suggested to my wife that it might be nice if I gave some sort of lecture here today, open to the general public, with the proceeds go to charity. That's fine with me. A lecture, why not? Really, what do I care? Of course you understand that I'm not a professor, I'm devoid of academic degrees, but nonetheless, for almost 30 years now, at a considerable risk to my health and whatever, mind you, I've been working on problems of a scientific nature, pondering them, and occasionally I even write scholarly articles, if you can believe that. What I mean is not exactly scholarly, but if you'll excuse the expression, sort of scholarly. As a matter of fact, I have written a very interesting article, The Problem with Insects. My daughters liked it a lot, especially the parts about the bedbugs. I read it to them. Of course, then I tore it up. You can write about bedbugs all you want, but the only thing that can get rid of them is boric acid. And we even had them in the piano. As the subject of my lecture today, I have chosen, I think I may put it that way, the harmful effects which can be observed in human beings as a direct result of indulgence in tobacco. I myself smoke. But my wife told me I should speak today about the dangers of tobacco, so of course there's nothing more to say, is there? Dangers? Why not? What do I care? You, on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, will, I hope, devote your serious attention to what I'm about to say. Otherwise, I really don't think we'll get anywhere. If there's anyone here who has qualms about my dry, scientific lecture, anyone who doesn't like the idea, feel perfectly free not to listen, or leave if you want. Let me make a special point of reminding any physicians who may be present that my lecture contains many useful observations for them, since tobacco, aside from its harmful effects, is also used in medicine. For instance, a fly placed in a container of tobacco will die, usually from nervous convulsions. Tobacco is, so to speak, a plant. Whenever I give a lecture, my right eye twitches a little. Sorry, please don't pay any attention, it's just nerves. I'm a very nervous man, generally speaking, and my eye began twitching in 1889, on September 13th actually. That was the day my wife gave birth to Barbara. That's our fourth daughter. All my daughters were born on the 13th. Nonetheless, since our time is short, I think we had better stick to the subject of our lecture. I should point out, however, that my wife runs a music school and a private boarding school that is not exactly what you call a school, but something sort of like a school. Now, just between you and me, my wife likes to complain about never having enough of anything. But the fact is, she's managed to put, so to speak, a little something aside, maybe 40 or 50,000. Of course, I don't have a penny to my name. Not one. But what's the point of talking about it? At the boarding school, I am in charge of the housekeeping department. I make all the purchases, take care of the help, do the accounts, manufacture the students' notebooks, keep the bed bugs under control, walk my wife's dogs, catch the mice. Last night, one of my duties was to issue a pre-measured amount of flour and butter to the cook. Now, since the schedule called for pancakes for breakfast. Now, to make a long story short, today, when the pancakes were ready, my wife sent word to the kitchen that 3 of our boarders would not be eating pancakes, since they had swollen glands. The result of this, of course, was that we had a few extra pancakes, and what exactly were we supposed to do with them? Well, at first my wife told us to put one in the storage closets, and then she thought it over, and she thought it over and said, "Oh, go ahead and eat them yourselves, you old bag of bones." That's what she calls me when she's in a bad mood. Bag of bones. Or something. Sometimes snake in the grass, or sometimes Satan. Now I ask you, do I look like Satan? And she's always in a bad mood. Well, I didn't just eat those pancakes. I gobbled them down without even chewing. Because I'm always very hungry. Yesterday, for instance, she wouldn't let me have any dinner. You're just an old bag of bones, she said. What's the use of feeding you? However, we seem to be gossiping. And I think we've gotten a little off topic. Let us continue. Although I'm sure you'd all be rather listening to some music, some showtimes, or an aria. Our eyes shall never waver in the heat of battle. I can't exactly remember what that's from. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that at my wife's music school, I'm not only in charge of the housework, but I also teach all the courses in mathematics, physics, chemistry, geography, history, solfeggio, literature, and so on. We also offer dance, voice, and drawing lessons. My wife charges extra for them, although I am the dancing and voice instructor as well. Our School of Music is located on Mutt Street, number 13, Mutt Street. That's probably why my life is such a failure, living as I do at the number 13. All my daughters were born on the 13th, and our house has 13 windows. Well, what's the point of talking about it? If you'd like to discuss any of this with my wife, you can stop by the school anytime. A school catalog is available from the man at the door for 30 cents a copy. Or you can get them from me, if you'd like. 30 cents a copy. Would anybody care for one? No? 20 cents a copy? Too bad. That's right. Number 13 Mutt Street. I'm afraid I haven't been much of a success at anything. I've gotten old and stupid. And here I am, giving a lecture. I look perfectly happy up here, but what I'd really like to do is start screaming at the top of my lungs or run away someplace where nobody could ever find me. And there's nobody I can complain to. There are times when I even feel like crying. You say, well, there's always your daughters. What daughters? I try to talk to them, they only laugh at me. My wife has 7 daughters. No, excuse me, I think it's 6. No, 7. Anna, the oldest, she's 27, and the youngest is 17. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not happy. I have grown into a half-wit, a non-wit, but essentially what you see before you is a very happy father. Essentially, that's the way it's ought to be. And I certainly wouldn't want anything different. If only you knew. I have lived with my wife for 33 years, and I can say those are the best years of my life. Well, not exactly the best, but so to speak. They have passed, to make a long story short, in one happy twinkling of an eye. And frankly, I don't give a good goddamn anymore. Anyway, I don't think she's here yet. Yeah, she's not here. So I can say whatever I feel like. I'm really afraid. She terrifies me whenever she looks at me. Oh, here's another thing. All my daughters are unmarried. they've been unmarried for a long time, which is probably because they're bashful, but also because men never give a chance. Because men never get the chance to meet them. My wife won't give parties. She never invites anyone to dinner. She's so cheap. She's a hateful, stuck-up old shrew, and that's why no one ever comes to see us. But now, this is confidential between you and me. You can meet my wife's daughters on all major holidays at their Aunt Natalie's. She's the one with the rheumatism, who always wears a yellow dress with little black dots that make her look as if she had cockroaches crawling all over her. She always serves something to eat, and if my wife's not around, you can also... Of course, I have to point out to you that it only takes a little shot to get me drunk, which makes me feel good inside, but at the same time, I get so sad I can't even tell you. I start thinking about when I was young, for some reason it makes me want to run away. If you only knew how it makes me want to run away. Run away, just dump everything and run, never look back. Where? I don't care. Just run away from this cheap, vulgar, filthy life that has turned me into a pathetic old wreck and a pathetic old half-wit. Run away from that stupid, petty, evil miser of a woman I'm married to. Run away from a wife who's tormented me for 33 years, from the music lessons in the kitchen, and my wife having all the money, and from all the ugly, mean things I have to live with. Until I get someplace far away, and then I'll stop in a field somewhere and stand there. Like a tree. Or a fence post, like a scarecrow, and stare up at the enormous sky. Stand there all night, just looking at the moon. The quiet, shining moon. And forget it all. Oh, if only I could forget it all. If only I could get out of this ugly old tailcoat I got married in 33 years ago. The one I give lectures in, where the proceeds go to charity. Take that! And that! I know. I'm old. I'm poor. I'm pathetic, just like this vest. The back is all worn and falling apart. But I don't need a thing. I'm better than all this. I'm an honest man. I used to be young. I was smart. I went to the university. I had dreams. I wanted to be a decent human being. Now I don't want anything. The only thing I need is peace and quiet. Just a little peace and quiet. However, my wife is now waiting in the wings. She's here. She's waiting for me. Well, I see my time is about up. If she asks, would you mind saying that the lecture... I'd be very grateful if you wouldn't mind saying that the old bag of bones, behaved. With dignity. With dignity, yeah. She's watching. As a consequence of which, the fact, that tobacco contains a powerful toxic agent, as I have just described, we see that smoking is by no means advisable, and I hope, so to speak, that my lecture here today on the dangers of tobacco will provide a beneficial effect. That's all I have to say.